Brentwood is one of those neighborhoods in Austin, Texas that people might not start off looking for, but ultimately, as they do more and more research, it's inevitable that they run into Brentwood, specifically because it's just north of Austin. It's in a great location, easy access between Mopac and I-35. And then if you wanted to take 183, you could hop on real easy here, and also 290. 290 will take you straight over to Houston. I-35 goes from Mexico to Canada and San Antonio and Dallas as well. Oklahoma, if that's your thing. And then it's near some city employment. It's near, it's just north of the college. You've got some green space. You have some creeks around here. A lot of really good restaurants are around here, which is really cool. Neighborhood parks. So, and then right on Burnett, there's so much food. If you're a foodie in Austin, Texas, Burnett has a lot of phenomenal restaurants. And so Brentwood is one of those areas that once you kind of pick an area, this probably ends up in most people who are looking at Austin or relocating to Austin. It probably ends up in most people's top 5. So if they're trying to stay close to the core of the city, right? That's really important here. All right. So I'm going to focus on the true prices for Brentwood. And the reason why this is important is because real estate is a local conversation. A lot of people hear in the media, they hear stuff about, oh, well, the interest rate's this and too many houses or not enough houses. And it's like, yeah, that's great for national, but how does it impact Austin? Remember, Austin was one of the fastest growing cities in the United States for quite a while over these last few years. The pandemic threw things off. It was super hot. And then it was like, is it not? And so the pricing has fluctuated tremendously leading up to the transition of the presidency from 2024 to 2025. And so I'm really excited to kind of cover how the prices are right now. And another question that I get a lot of the times is it a good time to buy? I can't answer that question for you because it could be a good time based on your situation, could be a terrible time. And these numbers, the data, might help you come to an educated decision. And so I go by Ian of Austin if you haven't been on this channel yet, and I want to focus on providing you things that are relevant to you in the moment, live as much as I can. So we're talking Brentwood. I'm going to jump on over to the Austin, the actual city's watershed map that shows you the layout of Brentwood. So let's start there. And then notice the orange. It says structures in a floodplain. Here's why this is important. You might see some houses that are listed really high, some that are listed really low, and not understand, well, what's the difference? They all look the same. And this is where investors can win, or realtors have to actually know their product, what they're doing with. It's called geographical competency. Because when you see stuff like this, it's like, oh, well, I didn't know this. Everything along this road was in a floodplain. It's like, yeah, Austin's irrigation is definitely something to talk about. Maybe not as much as Houston or Louisiana or some other places, but definitely something to consider. And so looking at this, and the drainage can impact your decision to purchase in a specific area and impact the prices of the homes. And we'll look at the prices here in just a second. But I wanted to share this, kind of the layout of how Brentwood looked, and then that we've got this floodplain map that we can review. Now, I'm on the MLS, the Austin MLS. So if you're a realtor, then you have access to this. And it's one of those things that we pay way too much for, but it's good because we get granular data that's not publicly available. And if it is publicly available, it's aggregated for us to be able to find nice and easily. So you see, I have a bunch of things checked. First, I want to show you what my criteria is. So if you're a data person, I get it. I was in IT before I was in real estate. And so I think I have to tell you the why before we start looking at the results. I have active under contract, pending, and closed, but I only have closed within the last 30 days. Okay. This is really important. The last 30 days were very different from the previous 90 days, from the previous year. So when an appraiser is looking at a home, they want to get it as tight as possible. And so the value in the last 30 days is going to come from what homes have closed in that time frame in this area. All right. So if you're looking to list your home, or you hire me to list your home, I'm going to say, okay, we have to look and see what's closed so that we understand where to price it at based on what's closed. Not what's active. Active will let us know what our competition is. And then you have active under contract and pending, which means someone agreed to purchase it, but you don't know for how much. And that's the key. And that's why closed is the only one that actually matters when it comes to appraisal purposes and most broker price opinion purposes. So single family and condos. The reason why I have both of those checked in this circumstance is because you have a lot of single family freestanding condos in the Brentwood area. And so what that means is it might have a smaller lot. There might be two homes on one oversized lot that they had to create as a condo so that it ends up being shared land and you don't end up with a lot that's too small based on the city ordinances, things like that. So condos count. We have to look at what the fees are associated with the condos because that typically affects what the sales price is of the property. I didn't do anything like the year or parking spaces, and we'll look at all those too. I didn't want to dilute this too much. I wanted to get a good subset of information, and right now we've got 55 matches. If I needed to bring it down some, I could just, filter by price or something else. And so I want to hit results so you can kind of see, and I want to go through how these results are laid out. So let me start off. Again, I do these true prices videos a lot, and so if you haven't followed this channel, and this is the kind of thing that you're interested in, make sure you subscribe and I'll keep doing more true price videos for cities like Brentwood. I've got one coming for Allendale. I've got one coming for Wootton. I've got some coming from places in Georgetown, in Round Rock, in Hutto, and just all over. So let's start off by going left to right real quick. And so first off is the status, whether or not it's active, under contract, closed, or pending. It'll show there. Next is our area. So it's broken up into area that's kind of irrelevant unless you're a realtor. Address, number of beds, number of full baths, number of half baths. And so an example is this William Holland Unit 1 has a half bath and a 2-car garage. It's a tri-level, which is rare. Most are single story or maybe a 2-story. So a tri-level is rare. All right, so keep that in mind when you're looking at the price per square foot or the price. The year built was 2016, 1950, right? So that's important. You know that this is 1950. It's probably a renovation. I don't know. At this price point, maybe it's not. Next, you have acres, so the lot size that you're purchasing. It's interesting when there's condos because those numbers can be skewed based on the shared interest of the property. And then square footage. This is key because most people say, oh, my neighbor's that nice inside. It's like, yeah, but it's 500 square foot larger. It has an extra room and you didn't account for that, right? And that's okay. But that's why we come in as realtors and kind of help explain that. This is the kind of stuff that gets generalized on sites like Zillow and Realtor.com and Trulia and Open Door. And so having like a finite access to information gets really, really important. Okay. So I'm going to use this one as an example, Georgian. I'm going to move this to the top, because I want to be very clear on how this is working. So we have the square foot, then we have the list price. So the list price is $649, which gives you a list price per square foot when you do the math. And so this one is $395 per square foot. It closed at that. $395 per square foot. So based on how the appraiser is doing the calculation, or the realtor who's listing the home is doing the calculation, this can be one of the methods to come up with the right number for the list price. Okay. And so next you have closed price per square foot. So this one was listed at $395 per square foot, closed at $395.12 per square foot. So it closed at $648. There's almost always a reason for that to happen. It could be due to negotiations. It could be due to repair. It could be because the buyer needed help with closing costs. Hundreds of reasons, right? And for most sellers, only thing that matters to them is the net, what they're bringing home, right? But for most buyers, it's either how much they have to bring to the table or what their monthly payment is going to be. And so or sales price if they're paying cash, right? Instead of financing. And so that's where you get these numbers that vary. Like this one right here, $775. So this Lindale listed at $775, closed at $767. Okay. Why is not really relevant in the moment, but I wanted to show that. Okay. So $428 per square foot versus $433 per square foot. So I like seeing variances because it tells a fuller story than what you're going to get on some of these other websites. Okay. It shows the date that it closed, which is really important because it took 56 days. That's 2 months. It used to be where you could sneeze and a house would sell. So there were a lot of real estate agents that had come into the market, had never worked here, and they could ask anybody and nobody would do the research because everybody was relocating here, and they would say, oh yeah, help me. And so there were a lot of real estate agents that didn't have the tribal knowledge or depth of knowledge and were able to sell a lot of homes very quickly. And so now that's kind of spread out. The number of realtors has dropped, and then the ones that have made it through, it's like, okay, now we have to go back to doing the work that we learned to do, like the real work, right? So 123 days on market is not uncommon. 222, 308, 118. This is really important if you're thinking of selling your house right now, because here's the thing. A lot of sellers will think to themselves, okay, I'm just going to wait until the spring because it's a hotter buyer's market, right? The fallacy there and the issue there is that everybody thinks that. Right. And so if you have a buyer that's looking right now, there's a higher propensity for them to want to put in an offer. So you have less buyers, less competition versus in the spring where you have more buyers, more competition. And then external forces like the interest rate. Well, so you don't know what that's going to be. You know what it is today. You know that buyers are out there today looking. There's just so many variables in there. How long have these homes been on the market? An investor should be going crazy right now if they have cash able to purchase homes and know that the Austin market will continue to rise like it has in the past years. Last thing I'm going to show here is tax rate. So you've got, like this is a tax rate of 1.8, 2.1, 1.9. The tax rates in Austin, Texas, and all the cities around vary per neighborhood. Really important. Just like HOAs vary per neighborhood. And so it could have to do with grants. It could have to do with the municipal utility district, like the utilities that they bring in. It could be due to some improvement in the area. So don't question why. Just know that. That is so important. And a lot of realtors don't understand how the tax rate works. They'll say, oh, taxes are around X thousand. It's like, yeah, but that's not the answer. Tax rate is basically the appraised price. Multiply that by the tax rate, and that's what you'll pay annually in taxes. And they appraise it every year. And this is why it's important in the state of Texas to be able to protest your taxes, because you might say, no. 5 houses sold for less than I paid for my house. So I don't think that my appraised value should be this high. So you're protesting your appraised value, and that brings you back to a lower appraised value at that same tax rate, which lowers your tax burden for the next year. Cool. All right. So I'm going to pull up some stats real quick. I'll pull up stats first, and then I'll look at a couple houses. How's that? When we look up like just general stats for this neighborhood, remember, we're still talking about Brentwood in Austin, Texas. I know this is a long video, but it's the depth of knowledge that's going to matter here for you if this is an area that you're considering. And so we're talking, so there's 38 active right now. Okay. And then from this 38 active, the lowest list price is $235 at $267 per square foot. The highest is 2.4 mil at $741 a square foot. But look, so it's almost an acre. It's almost 3,700 square feet, 5 beds, 5 baths. It's been on the market a year, essentially almost a year, not a full year, but all of the average and the median is almost 3 months on the market. Now that's the currently active ones, right? So some of these people can play with numbers, play with marketing, hope that one falls off and now you can have a little bit less competition. But let's look at what's closed. And remember, this is closed in the last 30 days. So the lowest closed price was $395 and some change per square foot. And then the highest was $550 per square foot. All right. So I'm looking over here. This one is $741 per square foot. That's got to be a real nice house. It is a 5.5, probably the only one, right? To beat $550 a square foot. Like, why would somebody pay so much more per square foot? Maybe because they get an acre of land. You see what I mean? So that's where this comes in. Okay. So median is about $445. So if you don't know anything about anything, that is a solid baseline for you to be able to say, okay, they're at this price per square foot. Or I'm sorry, I'm thinking about listing my home. The median is this price per square foot. I would say my home's about average. Then you want to undercut this by a little bit. At the very least, right? And then this one we haven't actually talked about. This is a closed price to list price percentage. So a lot of agents don't talk about if they list a home for X price, what do they actually sell it for on average for their business? Problem is a lot of sellers want what they want or say they want what they want, even though the market doesn't dictate that. And so you have a couple people, this one here, the average is 91% of the list price is what it actually closes at. So in Brentwood, that is current average, and then 93% is the median. Now, that's only the last 30 days. That could change tomorrow, right? If 3 houses go under contract tomorrow or are closing tomorrow, that number can be completely different. So you always want to run this with your real estate agent, your real estate professional, the day that you're getting ready to put in the offer, or the day before you're getting ready to put in the offer, or the week of it, the very least, minimally, right? And so this is a good example of how these numbers can vary so much. And we're not even counting what's under contract or pending because they haven't closed. Like I said earlier, because they haven't closed, you don't actually know what people paid. That's why you don't have a closed price or closed price per square foot or a percentage. You can see the time that it took for them to go under contract and what they were listed at. So if most of them were listed less than the 482, so this one went still 122 days for pending. This one went quicker, right? So you can see the time frames right here. So this is very, very telling data. Very telling data. Okay, so I want to look at a couple of these homes specifically. And so let's look at, I want a single family. So normally if there's a unit number or an A or something, then that's a condo. And I can take condos out, but I wanted to look at this specifically. Okay, so let's start with, how about this Sunshine? What do you think? No, I'm going to look at Georgian because this one's closed, okay? 1942. All right, what are we talking about here? 1.8 tax rate, HOA, no HOA, built in 1942, a resale. I don't think they did a lot on, okay, they did something on the inside. Okay, so they did something on the inside. It has a good sized backyard, which is obviously relative, but a nice canopy of trees covering it. Seems like a unique character in the home. But upgrades they did, I mean, you've got overhead range vent, you've got some nice tiling in the back, and then I can't tell without zooming in what kind of floors, what kind of countertops, but it's trendy looking. It definitely is trendy. I even like that they maintained the brick on the fireplace. I think that's really, really cool. And then is that a paisley design for the wallpaper in the green? So they knew what they were doing. They sold it for $1,000 less than what they listed it at. But we talked about this. This is still a low price per square foot based on the square footage. It's almost 1,640 square foot per home. One quick note about and I'll just use it for this property. This property has a homestead exemption on it. When you are relocating to the state of Texas, or if you just live in the state of Texas, you want to check that if this is your primary residence, you have a homestead exemption. If you are investor and this is a secondary, tertiary, I don't know how many homes you have in your portfolio, but if you have multiple homes, only your primary residence can be your homestead property. That should alleviate some of the burden of your actual tax, not your estimated tax. And so if you're over 65, if you're a veteran with any level of disability, if you have an agricultural exemption, maybe not in Brentwood, but in some other place where you have a little more land, like there's so many ways that you can adjust this tax burden. That's what your real estate professional is supposed to teach you how to do. All right. So that's this property. Let us go back to look at a few others. I want to look at, so that was a closed one. Let's look at one that's still active on the market. First, I want to find one that's active on the market that looks like a good deal. So this Sunshine, $398 a square foot. It's been on the market 123 days. Come on. If somebody's not scooping this up, I don't understand why. Right now, so we have access to documents in the MLS where it could be something like a seller's disclosure. And I'm not saying for this one, but in general, where they go, you know what, this actually just had a recent foundation repair, or it needs a new roof and we're not going to put it on. So make your best offer. Like there are all sorts of variables in there. And so we have documents that let us see that sort of stuff. Again, not the thing that's rarely on Zillow or Trulia or Realtor or Open Door or ForPad or any of that stuff. So this is virtually staged. I bet when you go in person, it doesn't look, I mean, it says that, but it doesn't look the same, right? And so sometimes that's a turn off for people. They see it looks real pretty in the pictures. They get there, they have no imagination. So it could be sitting because of that. It could be sitting because we went from 3,300 active homes on the market 2 years ago to now we're at like 13,000, 14,000 active homes on the market, something crazy like that. 1.8 tax rate, incredible. They're offering buyer assistance. You can do cash. You can do a conventional. I think VA was in there. No HOA, 1,500 square feet, built in 1959, completely remodeled. This is an awesome opportunity. So if you're an investor and you're interested in something like this, please reach out. I would love to negotiate a deal for this particular home. And I'm telling you, people are missing out because there are deals out there. And I don't think that people know how to interpret what could be a deal from them. A lot of people are only looking at hard numbers, not the proximity to the city, not the comparison for the sales price or the price per square foot versus all these other properties out here. Man, that's cool. Okay, so what I'm going to do is a lot of people are curious about how to find out like what's the rental in that area if they're going to rent it out. If you're going to live there, wonderful. So you could always go to ianofAustin.com. I have an invest section. I'm going to add a calculator up there. So if you're interested and you're looking to just buy a home to invest in and you want to know what the cash flow is, I'll have a calculator up there for you. But you could always go into ianofAustin.com, type in that neighborhood. So Brentwood, for example, and then it'll pull up a neighborhood. You've got a calculator. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take one of these homes and fill out the actual calculator and see what the prices are looking like for a first-time home buyer that has a little bit of money to put down. All right, so let's find a good one. What was the median price? Like 486. I'll do this one. I don't want that one. I want this one. Let's look at this. Let's see what this looks like. 615. Looks kind of nice. Redone on the inside. Great. In Brentwood. Cool neighborhood. Cool everything. Like layout's good. It's a little smaller for some people, but I think with the location, proximity to a lot of things, yeah. Okay, that's one of my. I like that game store a lot. There's tons of pho and other noodles. This is like almost like another Chinatown where they have a lot of Vietnamese restaurants and Asian cuisine, and it's really, really good. So it's right by there. That makes a lot of sense why they're pricing it where they are. Okay, so we're looking at a 1.98 tax rate, less than 2%. HOA fee, good. No HOA, sorry. Low. See, look at this. They don't have any exemptions, but they probably had it for a long time. It was built in 1962. That's why their tax is going to be a little bit lower because they've had it for so long, and it gets capped if it's your homestead. But I don't see a homestead. Maybe they just protest well. Maybe it was based on before the renovation. See what I mean? So Pilot Crown, I was actually there earlier today. Wonderful little coffee wine shop right around the corner from here. And next to there is like a deli pizza. This is a great spot. It's deli pizza. This is a great spot, great opportunity. So it's at listed 615,000. So let's use these numbers, okay? $500 a square foot. And remember, this is the last thing I'm going to say about the pricing. You can offer whatever you want to offer, right? Just because it's listed at this, it's been on the market a little bit. So you don't know. Maybe they're willing to take a little bit less. Maybe it ends up being where you submit an offer and there are multiple. Right? Maybe you can offer them more and then get them to pay some closing costs. And then it just helps you as a buyer have less out of pocket expense. Right? There's so many things that we can do strategically. You really just have to understand what's best for your family and your situation. Will still be a win for the seller, or else they probably won't accept it. So on my website, I have a calculator that lets you go through, put in your annual income, what your proposed down payment is, like what you have, be able to put down on the house, any other monthly debts. So if you have like student loans or hospital bills or something like that, the loan term. So you want to see if it's most likely going to be a 30-year fixed for most people. Interest rate is whatever today's rate is. Property tax rate, you saw on that one was like a 1.9. So I'll just put a 2% just to keep it nice and clean. Homeowners insurance. That's something that if you ever need an insurance person, I can connect you. They can run a report, tell you what the approximate homeowners insurance would be on this. Something that's quotable. You always want to check with that. Because the prices are all over the place. Oftentimes it's based on how recently the roof was replaced and then if it was remodeled and all those sorts of things. Same with the association fees. There were zero condo association fees for this property. So this is a good one. Let's see. So let's say your income was 150. We'll do that. And then your down payment was 50,000. And when I say income, this could be combined, right? Like maybe it's a partner situation and you both make 75,000 and you want to buy a home together and then you don't have any other debts. And so let's just calculate it based on this. What do we have? So we're looking at $4,374 a month. You see your principal and interest, the actual property taxes, and then your homeowner's insurance. And so obviously it's not obvious. I'm not a financial advisor or a lender or an insurance person, but this kind of gets you in the ballpark to at least have that discussion and start thinking about whether or not this could make sense for you. And then in the future, you don't know what the market's going to do. And so if in 6 years you have confidence that the interest rates will drop, you might have an opportunity to refinance your home. And if you refinance, if it's at 7% today, you might be able to refinance if it drops down to 5%, right? So that's kind of the play for a lot of people. And then your monthly payment drops significantly because of your principal and interest. So is the Brentwood neighborhood. Hopefully this was super helpful. Again, follow if you want more like this. I'm Ian of Austin. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.